Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. We're here for a brand new update video. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. And to be fair, over the last week or so, there's been quite a lot of Wolves news, both about the club, transfers, and so on. So I thought I'd do a little update video, just to keep you guys really in the loop with what's been going on, and just to tidy a few things up after the transfer deadline day over just over a week ago. But as always, guys, our channel partners over at Football Prizes have got an amazing prize up for grabs this week. It's a signed and framed Wolves shirt from this season. So if you want to get involved and have your chance to win that, a link to their prize draw is in the top of this video description, where you can get involved ahead of next Wednesday's deadline for your chance to win a shirt. And there's lots of little instant win prizes in there as well. So go and check that out, link in the top of the description down below. Just a little bit of news ahead of tomorrow's game against Brentford as well. It was pretty much a given that this was going to happen, but both Boubacar Traore and Hwang Hee-chan are both available for selection. You would have assumed both of those players will be on the bench tomorrow against Brentford, but I spoke about that a lot more on our match preview, which is available to go and watch, which was released yesterday as well. Some news, interesting news came out from Bloomberg, a huge business page, talking about Fosun and making it pretty public about the fact that they're wanting investors. Now, this has been no secret really for the last 3, 4, 5 years that Wolves have wanted extra investment in the club, and for whatever reason it's just not come about, and we were never sure the amount of money that Fosun were after or what they wanted it for. But there's been a little bit of news on this from Bloomberg, that Fosun apparently, Fosun Sports Group, which is now the label that looks after Wolves, Fosun Sports Group are looking to raise around $100 million to help grow the esports portfolio and invest in Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. The amount of capital being raised hasn't yet been finalised, so basically the amount that you're buying into the club hasn't been confirmed. But 100 million, very interesting. Obviously, Wolves, like I said, just have made no secret that they do want extra investment, outside investment to help the club grow. So it'll be interesting the fact that now this article has come out, whether that sort of kickstarts something. Obviously, there's been a big impact on Saudi Arabian investment coming into the Premier League and Saudi Arabian football in general. So it'll be interesting to see if that has an impact on things, because there were some whispers of that possibly happening. But Fosun, Just She and Co, they made it pretty clear that Fosun were here to stay last summer. They may just well need a helping hand, and we may well see that very, very soon. But in terms of Wolves wanting to be self-sufficient, I think COVID, put a real dent in how Fosun wanted to work and grow Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I think it did harm us a little bit in how we were, we had some real momentum before COVID. And things do unfortunately change, but it'd be interesting. I think this is going to be the first summer really where we could see Wolves' self-sustainable model really come to fruition, because there's a lot of big sellable assets. Not that you want to sell, but you have full faith in the club trying to sell players and buy new players for the club to continue growing. But this summer will be interesting for that, and it will be interesting to see if we have any more news on any investments as well. Big news in regards to contracts as well. It's great to see that Toty Gomez has signed a new deal with the club. A new 5.5-year deal for Toti, who's really kicked on, hasn't he? Another piece of outstanding transfer business, I would say, from Wolves. Signed from Estoril when he was a young player. A couple of seasons out at Grasshoppers in Switzerland, which, everyone hated the Grasshoppers model, but this is a perfect example of how it's worked really well. And Toty Gomez now come back in, had a really good run in the team under Gary O'Neill. And I think he's one of those, when you watch him sometimes as a footballer, he's slightly unorthodox, but has very, very few poor games in my opinion, and touch wood, I haven't just jinxed that. But a really good player, obviously broken into the Portugal setup in recent times, which is great for him. Roberto Martinez obviously likes him, and seen yesterday on his renewal video wearing a retro Wolves shirt, which you love to see. So Toty Gomez, great news to him. Congratulations to him on his new deal, and long may that continue as well. And even, you've given him a big deal, even if one player, either Toty outgrows Wolves or Wolves outgrow Toty, which can happen over time. I think they've got enough there. He's proven enough that he's a Premier League defender, and Wolves will definitely make a good amount of money on him in the future anyway. Going quickly, sort of tidying up a few bits from the late deals on the transfer deadline. One player that Wolves were very close to actually bringing in was the Corinthians forward Yuri Alberto. Now that move broke down in the end because of additional finances and fees really. So a deal was reportedly agreed between Wolves and the player and Wolves and Corinthians. but the agents wanting more money at the 11th hour, which ultimately broke down the deal. Wolves didn't want to be held to ransom and pulled out of the deal. It was revealed yesterday by John Percy in one of his latest Wolves articles that the Corinthians, the agent, of Yuri Alberto, wanted an extra $1 million, which worked out at around £790,000 to broker this deal for Yuri Alberto to join Wolves. Ultimately, Wolves pulled out of the deal, like I've just said, and didn't go for it. Be interesting to see if they revisit this in the summer, but I doubt it now, especially if you're going to be messed around with agents like that. And it'd be interesting to see the players' point of view on this, if they was disappointed that this move did go on to break down ultimately. Another interesting one as well, he was a player that I would have mentioned potentially throughout the transfer window. Was a link to the Swedish midfielder Lucas Bergvall. Really highly rated young Swedish midfielder. In the end, he did go on to move and join at Tottenham Hotspur. But an interesting article coming from Sweden this week. It said that Wolves and Aston Villa reportedly made late attempts to sign Bergvall late in the window. It was said that Wolves and Villa had even offered more than Tottenham Hotspur. The player was flattered by the interest, but had already given his word to join Spurs. So what could have been Lucas Bergvall? Be interesting to keep our eye on him. Like I said, meant to be a really highly rated young player. I don't know what Spurs will do with him, whether he'll be integrated into the first team squad or loaned out, but would have been interesting, and shows that I think Wolves had offered apparently around 10 million euros plus add-ons, or just over 10 million in add-ons. So shows maybe that there was money there for Wolves to spend, but didn't necessarily need to spend it. And on Bergvall, as a central midfielder, not necessarily a position that Wolves were desperate to invest in January anyway. Another piece of transfer news that had come from Fabrizio Romano this week as well. Wolves are reportedly keeping tabs on the situation of the young Arsenal winger Mario Cozier-Dubry, 18 years of age, meant to be again another very talented young player. Arsenal do want to sort out a new contract for Cozier-Dubry, but Wolves are among a number of sides interested in signing him on a free if negotiations collapse between the young winger and Arsenal. So a lot of this one, especially with Fabrizio, will be fueled by agent talk, almost saying, look, Arsenal, all these teams are interested in me or interested in my client. Let's make sure we get a deal done or get a bit more money out of him. So Wolves may well have a genuine interest in him. I think there was other teams like Dortmund and so on reportedly interested as well. I think this would be a very clever signing if Wolves were able to get it done on a free in the summer. But don't be surprised if within very, very soon you see the young winger sign a new deal at Arsenal. But Mario Cozier-Dubry, reportedly, Wolves have an interest in him. And now somebody had asked me, maybe just over a week ago, the situation regarding Bruno Jordão, and he'd almost disappeared off the face of the earth. I'm really unsure what had happened with him. If you remember, Bruno Jordão had signed for Wolves from Lazio alongside Pedro Neto in a double deal. A lot of speculation in regards to the fees of both, but I'm fairly certain that Pedro Neto was the bulk of that transfer deal, and Bruno Jordão was just sort of for Wolves to sign him, just almost a bit of a sweetener. Still a very talented player. I remember seeing him against Reading in the Carabao Cup in the when we'd just come into the Premier League, and a really tidy young player. I think it was the second year, in the Premier League. It was when we just got into the Europa League. Really tidy young player, and unfortunately injuries had let him down. He's had a couple of failed loan spells as well. A couple of people saying that they thought he was meant to be higher rated than Neto, but I'm sure Neto's always been the higher rated out of the two. But someone had asked me where he was, and I really didn't know. He'd had game time for the under-21s, not really had a sniff in the first team for a while. But ultimately, Wolves at the start of this week had terminated his contract. 4.5 years Bruno Jordão was at the club, but unfortunately it moved on. But he has already found a new club. He's going to be playing in the top division of Poland. He's just joined Radomiak Radom. Apologies for that. Radomiak Radom in the top division of Poland. And I really do hope he kicks on. I think, 25 years of age now. So he's at the age where he really needs to start to get in some first team football. And fingers crossed for his sake, he could do it. I think, like I said, been very, very unlucky with injuries. So let's see. And all the best to Bruno Jordão on his move to Poland as well. Enzo Gonzalez as well, an interesting one. A lot of people asking where he's been at, because he's not been part of the first team, not really been part of the under-21s, but he has been playing football. He's out with the Paraguay under-23 squad at the moment. Out in South America, they've got pre-Olympic tournament, basically to decide who's going to qualify for the Olympics this summer. And Paraguay are actually doing quite well. They've qualified for the next stage. They've beaten Brazil, which is full of unbelievable talent. Endrick, who's meant to be one of the next best thing, joining Real Madrid. He missed a penalty and Paraguay beat Brazil. Last night they played Argentina as well, and Enzo had scored. It's worth searching this over on YouTube, or if you go into the Talking Walls Twitter, it's on there. He scored a great goal. Almost don't really like to compare him, but Messi-esque, a quick burst of pace and a beautiful dink over the goalkeeper to score and actually send Paraguay 3-2 up in the 91st minute. Unfortunately, Argentina did equalise and it finished 3-3, but Paraguay are now in a very, very good position to qualify for the Olympics. I think they probably just need a point for their final game to qualify for the Olympics, and Enzo's been a big part of that. So hopefully he can come back. I'm really excited to see maybe in the under-21s a front three of, at some time, Nathan Fraser, Enzo Gonzalez and Noah Lamina. That'd be quite cool to see between now and the end of the season. But Enzo Gonzalez is playing football, just not at Wolves at the moment. And finally, another piece of news is that a staff member has returned to Wolves. Matt Jackson has returned to Wolves, and he's got a new role of Head of Professional Football Development. He had left in the summer, Matt Jackson. He was there was a fancy name for it, but basically he was the loan manager at Wolves before the summer, where he'd moved to affiliate club at the time, Grasshoppers, to join them as their new president. Now, Wolves have pretty much cut ties with Grasshoppers because they've sold the club. So that it was the wife of Guao Guangchang who had owned Grasshoppers. She sold up now, so Matt Jackson has returned to Wolves. Wolves did a little podcast on it. Matt Hobbs sounded really pleased to have Matt Jackson back. And basically, his job now, he'll oversee the loan department at Wolves, but also work more closely with the first team recruitment, assessing those that are temporarily playing elsewhere or playing with the under-21. So I think he will be sort of still a loan manager as such, but probably sort of, I think Steve Davis is the player pathways manager. It's a very similar thing, but working probably a lot more closely to try and find better solutions. And I actually think he did an all right job as a loan manager at the time. So, be interesting to welcome him back as well. But guys, that is all. A bumper update, to be fair. Probably more news in the last week than we had all throughout the transfer window, to be honest. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Just kept you up to date with what's been going on at Wolves recently. As always, let me know your thoughts on anything discussed today. Be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Fingers crossed for the 3 points against Brentford. And I'll catch you all very, very soon.